Welcome everyone to the Public Speakers Association April Virtual Summit. My name is Brian Wagstaff and I am the owner and CEO of the Public Speakers Association. And let's go ahead and get started with our first speaker. I want to introduce to you Jackie Lappin. She is a leader, speaker, TEDx speaker, creator and host of SpeakerFest and owner of Speakertunity. So we'll turn the stage over to Jackie Lappin.
Well, I'm delighted to be here today, Brian, with my fellow PSA members, and it's just delightful to be amongst you. So we got a short period of time, so I'm going to get started. Today, I'm going to share with you 20 easy ways to create irresistible speaking presentation titles. What I've done is create a list of 20 different formulas that are going to make it so easy for you to write your speaking titles. How many of you actually have had trouble struggling with speaking titles? Well, this is going to solve that problem. So why does a presentation titles matter? You could be a stellar speaker, but if your title doesn't score, you will be languishing on the sidelines. So what is a good title? It captivates bookers. It increases your numbers of bookings. It provides incentive to the audience. It helps drive your revenue. It up-levels your speaker one sheet, and it demonstrates your integrity and ability to communicate what exactly you are telegraphing to the audience. And then next of all, you're going to be talking about, the bad titles. They end up in the booker's round file, and they seldom lead to bookings except by your friends. They result in stagnant client growth. They drag down the quality of your speaker sheet. And at worst, they mark you as uninteresting and closing the door on a possible relationship. These are really critical to you. So you must give your title serious consideration. This is not just a throwaway effort. So I just ask, how many of you struggled with them? I'm assuming that it has kept you awake nights sometimes when you're trying to figure out, how do I really capsulize what I'm trying to do in something that's going to get some interest from both the booker and the audience? So I am here to help. That is my mission today. So I'm an expert at helping leaders get booked. I'm the founder of Speakertunity, the speaker and leader resource company, where we've helped clients get on thousands of different stages on all different platforms, from podcasts to meetings to conferences to virtual summits, just like this. Our mission is to help you get booked faster and easier and in more places. So writing a talk title is an art. You must capture the essence of your message while still leaving the audience or the booker wanting more. You must impart some persuasive reason why the audience must hear what you have to say, the urgency, the warning, the problem, the ease, the improved outcome, the filling a knowledge void. And you must do this in just as few words as possible. Doesn't sound very easy, does it? I'm imagining you're kind of contemplating this in your mind. Oh my God, doing all of that. So today we're going to make it easy on you. I've created a guide with 20 different formulas that are commonly and effectively used for presentation titles. And I've provided samples for each one. And then you can try adapting your message to one of more of these. And above all, just don't be boring. And if you're worried about capturing these really quickly, I'm going to give you a way to grab them all at the end. But today we're going to make it really easy on you. So here are your 20 ways to create irresistible speaking presentation titles. So the first one is provide number, tips, or wisdom drip, a title that offers a promise of specific advice in a sequenced fashion. 5 simple steps to secure a steady stream of conferences and event stage appearances. 10 secrets successful speakers use to keep their calendar filled year-round. Those are ones that we use all the time and get a great response to. And then 6 steps to reverse early symptoms of diabetes. Number tips are a great way to get a booker to say yes. It's really an attractive offering. Number 2, commit to an outcome. A title that gives the audience a specific outcome they can expect from your presentation. How to get 15 new clients without making one cold call. Create a 6-figure business with the skills you've learned in corporate. Learn to love the 20 pounds you gained and revel in the body you have. All of these speak to what exactly you're going to experience after you've heard this person speak. What is it going to be the outcome when they listen to you? So this really gives them a results-driven outcome that really is appealing to both the booker and the audience. Now, this is number 3, designate the problem and that you are the solution. A title that shows the audience that you know how to solve a problem that is plaguing them. So here are examples. Convert your problem boss to your best advocate. The new sources of capital most entrepreneurs overlook. How to evaluate optimum assisted living facilities for aging parents. This is a title that shows the audience that you've got the answer to their problem and they won't have to stay awake nights after they've seen you or heard from you. So that is really powerful for a booker. Number 4, commit to a timeline, a title that confirms what they can achieve in a defined timeline by listening to you. 10 speaker bookings in 10 days. That one gets me a ton of response. How to get 3 college acceptances before the spring deadlines. The secret to 3 great dates within 30 days of starting to date online. So this is told them that, okay, you're going to get these results in this short amount of time. And so that they know that what you're offering them is an open door that is going to give them a result in a specific period of time. Number 5, provide inspiration, aspiration, and motivation. A title that provides hope or motivation, such as success is only 3 feet from gold. Your purpose awaits you. Discover the power of your resilience. This is telling the audience that you're going to make them feel good, that there is a way for them to succeed, that there is a way out of their mess. You're going to give them the keys to a future that is better than where they are now. Number 6, this is probably one of the most powerful ways to drive interest. A title that shows the hero's journey, how they can see themselves in you. It's telling your story, and is it their story? So from beggar to Wall Street broker, from stage 4 to cancer-free, from know-it-all to have-it-all, how to get humbled and regain your life again. You're going to tell your story as an example of how you broke this through, and you're going to lead them through the promised land. Title number 7, issue a cautionary tale, a title that warns some of the mistakes they could make if they don't heed what you say. 8 ways to sabotage your speaker one sheet, how to implode your corporate speaking career before it even begins. The relationship guide for the chronically single, the warning signs that you are aging prematurely. Each of these gives them a sense that if they don't pay attention to what you have to say, then they're going to run into problems, and you're giving them a way to head them off. Title type number 8, unveil what they don't tell you. A title that makes them wonder what knowledge they're missing, what they don't tell you in business school, what your mother never told you about sex and marriage, what you don't know about how successful producers get their movies made. Now, this basically tells them that you got the inside scoop on something that they're not being told, and you can reveal the truth to them. Title number 9, thaw in the face of conventional wisdom, a title that makes people think twice. Butterflies are deadly creatures. Hyperactive kids don't need medication. Failure is your best path to business success. You know, when you're telling them that what they commonly think is knowledge is not right, and you're going to create this disconnect. Oh my God, what is she or he trying to say that is against what everybody's been telling me? Then you're going to get their attention. Number 10. Wrap it in metaphors or fables, a title that alludes to a real world experience, but does it so in a fantastical way. Why the tortoise wins every time. The Goldilocks method for conquering the bears in your life. The 6-box dilemma, figuring out the important priorities in your life. What this does is everybody has a sense of these metaphors or fables, and you're locking your presentation, they'll understand what the concept is that you're offering when you wrap it up in a metaphor or a fable. You're giving them a kind of a roadmap that they're already familiar with through culture. Number 11, Be controversial. Take a popular stand. A title that is designed to stir the pot and either attract similar adherents or stimulate a lively dialogue. Dog lovers are creating unsustainable numbers of pets without homes. The religious right has commandeered the Supreme Court. Defunding the police is a dangerous myth. Now, all these are controversial subject matters, and you can't do this in every situation. But if it's the right audience in the right circumstances, and you want to stir up conversation, a dialogue that leads to something that you can provide a solution for, this is a way to go. Number 12, show concern, a title that demonstrates caring for a segment of society you serve. How we can do more to prevent homelessness. What you must do to support your teens' mental health in a world dominated by social media condemnation. New ways to help aging parents with their deteriorating facilities. So what you're doing there is showing that you have heart and that your heart matters, and you're going to basically touch into their hearts so that you together can make the world better. You can help them, do something in the world that's going to make a difference. Number 13, create curiosity, a title that gets the audience to wonder and want more. Did you know that you are more likely to go gray if you eat these foods? How did I climb Kilimanjaro with no hands? Want to know how 15 teenagers would run the country if they were elected today? All of these don't actually say what's happening, but it tells you, it creates curiosity, and the audience and the host is going to want to know more. You've intrigued them. Number 14, reveal a secret or hoarded knowledge, a title that tells the audience you know something they don't and stimulates their desire to know. The secret to learning a new language while traveling. Little known ways to improve your gut health and end digestive problems. What everybody should know about backyard barbecuing that will keep the meat tender and the vegetables crisp. Common myths about entrepreneurs overturned. So what you're doing is you're saying, ooh, I have a secret you don't know. And this is hoarded knowledge that only a secret segment of society knows, and I'm going to let you in on it. Number 15, show them there is a quicker, easier, simpler way, a title that says they are suffering needlessly and you can make their lives infinitely easier, better, and more successful with less effort. And I'm not going to go into details, but all you have to do is put at the beginning of the simple way to, the easier method for, the pastor path. You're going to give in their heads, they're already seeing that when they listen to you, their lives are going to be easier or they're going to be more prosperous. And that's, a really appealing title. Number 16, show them how to achieve more, a title that gives them a path to their dreams of greater success. How to increase their monthly revenue streams and add $40,000 to the bottom line. Add 4 more hours of play to your day. Get more out of your remote staff so you can get away more often. How to ratchet up the love quotient in your 10-year fold, in your relationship tenfold. These are people that are already on a successful path, but they're always looking for more. If you're talking to an audience of experienced people, but they just want to go to the next level, a title that shows them how they can achieve more is a really great, appealing way to go. Number 17, evoke a celebrity or pop culture phenomenon, a title that trespasses on celebrity or pop culture renown and stimulates aspirational images. Travel like Jeff Bezos. Write a book Reese Witherspoon wants for her book club. Trick your car out like a modern Bondmobile. Think like a TikTok superstar. All of these are basically alluding to a lifestyle that they want to have, or a goal that they would love to have. And you're going to show them using a celebrity as an icon that they can potentially live or experience or, get into the upper echelons using that celebrity name. 18, show them the way, a title that gives them a clear path to the outcome with you as their guide. If I can be a happy, homeless digital nomad, you can too. How writing my memoir made me a millionaire. If you're single and paying more than $10,000 a year in taxes, then you're overpaying. How to survive the current housing crunch. How to thrive despite childhood trauma. All of these say that you are the guide, you know how to get there, and you will show them that path. Very, very, very strong, appeals to people emotionally. 19. Point out the urgency. This is a title that presents a dire outcome that will create a forced situation and how it can be avoided. Our previous ones were all about, okay, I can help you to, not make some mistakes. But this one is, oh my God, you got to do something about it or it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. Fix your great resignation problem before you lose your workforce to your competitor. 10 water-saving strategies that will ward off the dreaded flow constrictor threat. Ways to add to your IRA before Medicare and Social Security start cutting back. Get rid of gophers once and for all. They're going to go over the cliff if they don't follow you on this. And number 20. Get creative. A title that comes from the heart and soul. It doesn't fit a formula. What you can teach, instill, or offer that provides value and inspiration to your core audience. How your title creates, shows a transformation that will motivate them into action. And what is the future, the aspiration that they receive through your title. Anything that I didn't give you, but it really punches a hole in the world for them. This is a great title. So we've covered a lot. And like I said, I'm going to give you a link so that you can go and grab this so that you can use this when you're doing your own. So go to speakertunity.com/ideas, speakertunity.com/ideas, and you can download this as an ebook and use it for your own purposes. Now, I hope that helped. Did it give you guys some ideas? Yeah. All right. So how'd you like some help with getting booked for conferences and events using your great titles? So I just want to point out that Speakertunity Conference Connections gives you 3,800 conferences every month that you can pick from that's going to make it easy on you. So in 60 different categories. So if you're interested, come on over, explore with us at Speakertunity. We'd love to have you. And also, if you don't want to fill in those calls for Speakers Forum, we have a strategic partner, Book For You virtual assistants that can do that for 20 hours a month, 40 hours a month, or whatever fits your budget. So, and here's where I wanted to wrap up today. SpeakerFest starts today. This, as you can see, we have an incredible lineup of speakers that are going to help you up-level your business, your speaking skills, your monetization, where to find your speaking gigs, Triangle Action from Stage. If you get in there today, it is totally free, but it starts today, and each day the ones will disappear from the previous day unless you grab the VIP program, which you can, and you'll get all the recordings. But if you get on there today, you can grab those recordings and you can go listen to them today, and then tomorrow you'll get, today is presentation and conversion, tomorrow is where to find and secure your gigs. The next day is monetize, grow, and scale your speaking biz. And the last day is taking your message to other forms. So it is speakerfest.com. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and put that in the chat box. So it's speakerfest.com and open to questions. Anybody got any questions? Want to raise your hands? I know that was a fire hose, guys, but I've given you an easy way to grab it for your own.
Anyone with questions, you can just unmute and ask your question.
So the link for it, the ebook is speakertunity.com. I think it was titles. Let me go back. A couple of slides. Ideas. Okay, let me put that in there. Ideas. Oops. Where are you guys? Speakertunity.com/ideas. There you go. Any other questions? You got a title you're struggling with, you don't know what to do with? Thank you, Eloise. Appreciate that. This should open some easy, simple ways for you to really make a difference with those titles, really have some impact. And it's going to increase your booking as well as get more people into those audiences, because the host will love the fact that you, that you're helping him fill his audience, or he or her, as the case may be. So no questions, no ideas. Right. They sure are. So come join me over on SpeakerFest. I'm the host, and we've got just a fabulous lineup of people. And we'd love to have you. It's going to be a real game changer for a lot of folks. I mean, I learned a ton from our speakers. things I had no idea, how to market themselves, how to get into corporate, how to get into associations, how to, how to negotiate your speaker fees. I mean, there's just so much here. Are we good?
Yep. And that's all the time we have. We need to move on to our next speaker. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Terrific. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
All right. See you later.
So our next speaker is going to be Ash Shastri, and he is a leadership consultant, speaker, and trainer. So it's my pleasure to turn the stage over to Ash.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brian. Let me see if I can share my screen, and hopefully this will work. Hold on. Okay, so I've just started sharing my screen. So this is the classic Zoom thing. So let me know. Are we good? Perfect. That's yeah, really good to hear. So thank you very much for having me, guys. So yeah, my name's Ash. We'll get straight in. So first of all, do you guys know that at the moment, 65% of companies with vacancies right now are struggling to fill in these spots? And we've also found that it's like 7 out of 10 companies struggling. Okay, but there's an unprecedented amount of unemployment happening in the UK, the US, and pretty much the rest of the world at the same time, right? What is going on at this moment? And the other interesting study that was found was that only about 28% or so of people and companies are saying that there's any sort of formal leadership training that's happening for managers. And yet the majority of the vacancies that I talked about are coming from the middle management level. So I don't know, if you ask me, there's some kind of a misconnection that's happening right here, right? And this is not me making these things up. This is a study done by the London Chamber of Commerce that presented these numbers, and also the Manpower Group survey, which is typically used by the government to talk about unemployment rates and things like that. So there's a bit of a problem, right? This is where I come in. So hi, my name is Ash, and I'm a leadership consultant. So I help small and large companies to develop emotionally intelligent leaders and high-performing teams, prevent burnouts, and overall create a motivational culture. And I'm here to talk to you guys about what I've learned by working with some of the FTSE 100 leaders that we can use when we're building our own teams, and how we can use that in the opportunities to present ourselves to the best of our ability, right, when we're going forward. So this talk today is going to cover a few things. So we're going to talk about leadership styles, so personal leadership skills and professional leadership as well, and then how to use the communication skills to have impactful conversations with our clients, our prospects, and even in our personal lives as well. And finally, we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of these skills gaps and other opportunities that I've just mentioned as well. And I'm going to talk about that as well. So if you guys have any questions throughout, then let me know towards the end, and we can discuss those. But if you're a leader, or if you're the owner of a small business, or you're looking to build a team, this is exactly the skills that we found to be what's needed in order to succeed. Okay, so here's a skills gap. The skills gap that was resulted as it created as a result of basically the last couple of years being shut down and most people being away. And there's a recent study that's done that I'll talk about in a second as well. But imagine this, right? You've got shut off in the last couple of years, people away from having interpersonal relationships, and whether it's professionally or personally, which meant that there's a massive decline in the way that people have behaved, and the way that people have interacted with each other. And so the biggest skill gap that they found in the middle management level is the interpersonal skills and communication skills. Interestingly as well, that is also what people said that they wanted most within modern day leaders. The crazy thing is, the same studies have found that the companies that already had emotionally intelligent leaders, or the people who were good at people skills, kept their clients, kept their people, and did not get affected by the Great Resignation that we just heard about a little while ago as well. So if we think about that, it's no longer just the fact that you have IQ to be a good leader. it's also the fact that you need to have EQ, right? Emotional intelligence. Before, it used to be a thing that you were a really smart person, you were a logical thinker, and you were able to tackle large problems in a strategic manner. You could suddenly be seen as a leader within your firm, whether it's in your own company or whether it's in a company that you're working with at the moment, doesn't matter, right? You're seen as a person who can be leading teams. But now emotional intelligence trumps all of those skills because it is taught that you can learn to think in a framework. You can learn to think logically, but it's really difficult to come up with emotional intelligence in a short period of time. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the quiet quitting that happened recently and the great resignation, all those kinds of things. So in a recent survey that NatWest and the Royal Bank of Scotland did, they found that the second biggest reason for why people were leaving was because of the lack of feeling of belonging or lack of feeling of being valued within their company. And that results in all these things. But of course, you can probably also guess that the first reason was because the pay package that they got wasn't good enough to keep them in. But if you think about that, this is the second highest the reason why most people were quitting. And at the same time, the highest skill in demand was people skills. You can see where the opportunity lies for us, right? Most of you guys here are speakers, trainers, and coaches. You own your own businesses. And I don't know if you're in full-time in owning your own business or if you're working as a side hustle as well. But at the same time, I know most of you will be wanting to create your own teams, whether it's having your virtual assistants or having people within your team locally that's working for you. And nowadays, even if they're working locally, you'll still be looking at hybrid teams anyway, right? You're not going to always be in the office environment. So in the past, you're able to set up a structure that other people will motivate each other to just automatically keep things chugging on. But now the opportunity cost is so high. Like, you don't want to be in an environment that you don't like. You don't want to be in an environment you don't feel like you belong in or valued in. Especially when you're at home, you have a lot more time to think about these things for yourself. So you can just choose where you want to go. So this is where your professional and personal leadership skills need to come in. Again, if you're a leader in a team or a small business owner, this is it. Okay. So the first thing you got to realize is, what type of leader are you? And I definitely encourage each of you to kind of think about this yourself. When I was creating this business, for myself, I had to think about this too when I was looking at building a team. Because when we go and work with FTSE 100 leaders, they already have an idea of what kind of leader they are, but the people underneath them, so the middle management level, they don't. And like I said at the beginning, only about 28% of companies that we speak to ever actually have any formal training in place anyway for leadership. So people become managers because they were good at what they did in terms of a job. And now suddenly they were expected to lead teams. And so the job that they were really good at becomes a small part of their role. Instead, they have to lead teams. So these are the 6 most commonly referred to leadership styles that exist. So you guys got to think about it for yourself. Which of these top 6 do you fall under in a broad sense, right? Everything is a bit fluctuating, but of course, everybody has a dominant leadership style. So I'll quickly talk about them. Authoritative is not authoritarian, as in it's not the directional one, like, hey, you do this, you do this. It's more authoritative is just, I lead by example, right? This person is usually considered to be a big vision thinker, a visionary that people would want to follow. Delegative is, as it says on the tin, kind of delegate the thing, but also very hands-off, so not micromanaging. You can imagine the opposite of micromanager, just somebody who lets you get on with your thing. That can work quite well sometimes, depending on the team you're in. The transactional style is more of a manager, like a typical manager you can think about, right? Somebody who has a structure in place, somebody who uses incentives and penalties to drive motivation within the team. Somebody who's a transformational leader would be the typical one-person band, the person who takes on absolutely everything and says, yeah, we can do this, but also the person who bonds the team together, has the biggest passion, is the loudest voice. That person is usually considered to be the transformational style leader. And we've got the participative one. This person is usually quite democratic. You kind of know this person, right? The one who's always asking everybody what they think before they make decisions, trying to include as many people as possible before they make any decisions going forward. And then you have the servant type leader, which others they put others' needs in front of their own, and they're also heavily team focused. They really want to think about what everybody else wants before what they want. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to each of these leadership styles. So for you guys, I would definitely recommend for you to think about where you fall under and then look into what the advantages and disadvantages are for each. Of course, had we given more time, we'd have talked about each of those things in detail. And when we work with our companies and clients, we typically go into detail for each of them to see actually how does your leadership style fit within your team. And so understanding this will definitely give you a better idea of how to utilize this within your own, whether it be department, within your own team that you're going to develop, and will even influence the hiring decisions that you might make. I remember when we were helping a coach to onboard a virtual assistant and onboard an executive assistant within their own, one was local, one was abroad. To onboard these two people, we needed to make sure the type of leadership style that this person dominantly had already would fall in line with the type of people they were hiring, and they would actually be able to operate well within that environment. Otherwise, we know that right now, operationally, hiring costs is, if you want to budget it, you would budget double one person's salary for the hiring costs at the moment because of how long everything's taking and how difficult it is to find people and train them up, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're, let's say, a delegative leader where you don't want to be micromanaging someone, you want to be as hands-off as possible, but then you hire a very new beginner who doesn't want to be hands-off, who wants a very on-hand support every single day, well, it's not really going to match up very well, right? You're not, even though your personalities might match, your leadership and employee style might not match. So you got to think about it that way, why this is super important for you. So regardless of the leadership style that you pick, don't be fooled by thinking that that is the only way to go. Like, just because you have a dominant one doesn't mean that that's going to be the easiest one for you to always lead by. So sometimes you might need to fluctuate to see where you go and where you don't go. Okay. And regardless of the leadership style that you do have, you need to master some of these things. These are the essential skills that we found to work for people. So the first one is decision-making. If you want to be an effective leader, you want to know how to use the 80% rule to your advantage. Okay, so don't wait for 100% of knowledge to come into your lap or information to come into your lap before you make decisions, because that will never happen. So instead, just as soon as you figure out, you think 70%, 80% of work is done, of the information that you know, you can make a decision to go forward. And this is a rule that Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos talk about all the time, and it seems to be working quite well. And so once you've decided where to go, follow that path and then course correct as you go on. Because it's easier to course correct when you're already on the path than never go on the path in the first place. Okay. Especially as a small business, this is one of the longest lead time is waiting time to figure out what to start and what to do. And finally, you've got to realize sometimes you might not be the best person to make a decision. And sometimes you are. Okay, so effective leaders need to be able to identify when and who needs to be in the room to make a decision. I was speaking to one of the strategy leads in Amazon the other day, and they have a 2 pizza rule. So for example, when they want to make a decision for something, as if they only need to have people in the room that 2 pizzas can feed. If they have any more, they have too many decision makers, right? Too many people involved. So think about what it might mean for your own business. Second one we've got is in emotional intelligence. Of course, as I mentioned, it's one of the most crucial skills that's prevalent right now. First one, you got to be clued up on DE&I, so diversity, equity, and inclusivity. This is not just the race, ethnicity, gender, that kind of stuff, but it's also more of the softer side of things, which is about people's backgrounds, how they think. Like I mentioned, like how do they like to follow or how do they like to lead within teams, depending on what you're hiring for. You don't want to be just surrounded by a bunch of yes people who say yes to everything you do. It's not going to be useful for you. Okay, and understanding and regulating your own emotions is a must. As a leader and a business owner, you often get the brunt of almost everything that happens at any given moment, right? So you still need to maintain a level-headed behavior so that your team can be motivated in the same way. Again, the EMEA lead that I was talking to from Amazon, she made a great point, which is that whatever she faces, her team will face too. So if she gets stressed out, her team feels the stress. If she's happy, her team will feel the happiness. So when you're building these teams, you got to think about that for yourself. Like, how do you feel on a regular basis? Like, how do you make sure that your level of emotions is on a high, right? And also finally, you've got to understand the strengths and weaknesses of your team members and know how to motivate them. Leader can make or break the team overall. I don't know if you've seen the show Physical 100 on Netflix, but in that one, there's a great example where all of them are 100 top athletes in their field. But when they do team activities, depending on how good the leader is, the team will fail or succeed. And they all attribute their success to their leader, which is crazy because all of them are leaders in their own right? So you got to think about how important that whole thing is. Finally, the most critical thing is communication skills. You got to understand how to master your own communication skills as a leader, but you got to first figure out what is your dominant style. Are you a passive style speaker, passive aggressive, assertive, or aggressive? Once you figured out those four, you can then figure out what the other people's communication styles are. Right? So you understand your own, then you can identify that in other people, and then you can learn how you can fluctuate between the different things so that you can communicate with the right people at the right time. For example, if somebody is a quiet person and is usually quite soft-spoken, and you're a loud, expressive type who likes to be, just all up in there, you can't go with your high energy to this person and imagine that they're going to follow along with you, right? They're going to be a little bit like, whoa. But if you go soft and then rise up, it'll be much easier. So as we come to a wrap, here are some final tips for you guys. Developing these skills are not easy, and it takes knowledge, but also time, effort, and practice. But with some practice, it's going to be super, super useful, and the benefits way outweigh any efforts that you will find. And the opportunity is in that if you can master these things, the best talent will come to you and will stay with you. And as I said, the studies have shown that employees who work for emotionally intelligent leaders are more productive, and more satisfied with their jobs, and way more likely to stay for the long run. And this same goes for the clients that you work with as well. Repeat buys is an all-time high with good leaders. So practice the active listening skills so you can understand your styles, ask questions, be open to feedback, and practice. For you guys, I would love for you to follow me. I'm Boss with Ash on pretty much all social media platforms. They can think about my most active ones are YouTube and LinkedIn. So I share this kind of stuff all the time, and also the kind of new stuff that's coming out around AI and how we can use that to build better leaders, better teams, that sort of stuff. And I primarily work with small, medium companies as well as large ones. So often bringing the learnings from the large companies to the small ones so that we can accelerate our development much faster. And thank you so much for listening to me. If you have any questions around anything to do with leadership skills, communications, et cetera, I'm open to your chat. Let me stop sharing at the same time, actually.
So Ash, I do have a question. So you listed 6 different leadership styles, and are you saying that not one of them is better than another?
Yes and no. There are some that are better today than they have been before. But often all of them have their different times that they can be useful for. So, for example, a standard authoritarian leadership style, I think a lot of people prefer that because it's, oh, look, I'm leading by example. I'm doing the right thing that's supposed to be done. But as a leader, oftentimes you have to face decisions where you say no, and your job is to identify the right people to be able to do the job, not necessarily do it yourself. So at that point, you might need to figure out how to motivate your team and be the participative leader who can understand how the people work. And the other one, I think, there's usually a lot of chat around servant leadership and how people think that being a servant leader is now like the done thing. But again, that putting other people in front of you all the time might sometimes mean that your company is growing at a really, really slow rate. And depending on the volatility of the industry that you're in, it just might not be feasible to do it that way. So yeah, there's definitely some that work better than others. Micromanaging almost never works. But beyond that, yeah, I think understanding the differences of each will definitely help.
And so if you have a dominant leadership style, you should just embrace that and then maybe try and add a couple of more that might help you out.
Yeah, definitely. If you are building your own team, that is 100% the way to go, because you often lean into it anyway. I think a lot of people will think, I am this is not the cool thing nowadays. I want to change myself. And yes, if you have a lot of time, you can do that. And you can go through a whole personality shift and do whatever you want. But if you don't have all that time and you're currently in a business that you're running actively or you're leading a team actively, the easiest way to go would be to master your one, understand the strengths and weaknesses that you have for yourself, add on an extra one. And if you're leading your own team, you can hire appropriately. If you're not leading your own team, then you can learn to flex your communication style so that you can still touch on the right people at the right time. The other benefit is if you know the limitations of your own leadership style, you can often tell that to people. When you're with your team, you're like, hey, by the way, like I had a great client that I was working with, and she was an excellent communicator. And she often would say, after we did a workshop, she was like, oh, by the way, guys, I realized that I'm a very hands-off manager, which might mean that for some of you, you think I'm not there to support you or I don't have your back. That's not the case. If you ever need me, I'm always on hand. I'm always there. So she made an extra effort to tell her team that she's always there. And so anytime they were working on something, before she would leave the meeting by saying, great, go ahead, do your thing. But now she'd be like, by the way, if anybody wants to have a chat, I'm here. I'll be here for another 10 minutes, so talk to me. So she always left herself open, even though her dominant style was a very hands-off approach.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Ash. It is
Thank you very much for having me. And if anybody has any questions, then connect with me or put in the chat. I'll chat there. I think that's all we have time for.
yes. So yes, thank you, Ash. And now I want to introduce our next speaker, Doreen Downing. She is an author, speaker, and host of Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast. So welcome to the stage, Dr. Doreen Downing.
I've unmuted, right?
Yes.
Good. People can hear me. Wonderful. Hello, everyone. I am back in, where was it? When did I start with you? A while ago, huh? Brian? So it's...
I don't know, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I looked back on your YouTube channel and I said, oh yeah, that's what I was saying then. Pretty much saying the same thing always about presence and being with yourself and with your listeners at the same time. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. But before I start the slideshow, I just wanted to go back to a moment when I really got how the power of presence was working for me. I was just beginning my speaking career. This was many years ago, and I was working with a mentor, and we were at a large conference, hundreds of people, and he asked me to come on stage. I had nothing prepared. It wasn't as if I was going to go train or teach. He just said, please, Doreen, come up on the stage. And he didn't even give me a prompt. Whew. Since it was the beginning, I remember how terrified I was, because that was part of what was happening anyway for me, is trying to overcome my fear of speaking. But what I did, I took the breath, because this is partly what we were teaching anyway, is how to take a breath and how to be in this very now moment. I'm on a stage and with people. So I look out and I find a pair of eyes, and those eyes were kind of like little sparkles. And I went, oh yeah, all I have to do is talk to this one person at a time, just be with her. And words started to come up and out. And again, it wasn't about a prepared script, but whatever I said, I know that it was powerful for the people who were in the audience. Throughout the day, they kept coming back to me and saying how whatever it is I said touched them. So the moment, being in the moment, being with, is what I'm going to be talking about today. And I'd like to share my screen, Brian.
Yes, you're a co-host, so you should be able to do that.
There. Right. So the power of presence, and the whole idea is to be heard now. You have to be here now. Isn't that the idea that we're talking about? To actually come to being in this very moment fully embodied. And I liked what Ash was saying, and being comfortable with yourself, no matter what communication style you have, to know that. And then interacting with other people who may have different styles too. So I think what you've said, Ash, so far, I think relates to what I'm going to be talking about. This, and I know you said practice, 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 but what I'd like to do right here, right now, is ask everyone to suspend just for a moment, go to beginner's mind, suspend everything you've ever learned about being a speaker, about speaking, being on a stage, about engaging with an audience. The content, the beginning, the middle, the end, the start with a punchy whatever to get them engaged, a joke, however you do start, and your message, just let go of thinking about how important all of that is. And of course, the delivery. I know that that's important, but again, let's just wipe our minds, our slates clean so that we can perhaps go to a new possibility that we can bring into all of our speaking. It's a kind of an innocence. And the reason I'm asking you to go to this new place is so that we can discover more about what it means to be absolutely present, to bring our presence into our presentation. So you saw I said presence, present, and presentations when we present. How many times that one word, isn't that amazing that presence relates to being a presenter? So today I'd like to talk about specifically, because it is kind of elusive, what is presence and why is it so important for us as speakers, and how to increase it is what it feels like we're coming to is, well, if it's so important, how do we develop it? And I would like to start with my definition, and I'll be presenting 3 B's today and 3 C's. But first, I want to say, to me, presence is simple. It's being grounded, centered in the now. And it's a literal physical sensation. Being grounded, whatever that means to you right now, you could come into the sense of what it feels like right now to be grounded, centered, and in this particular now. The first B is be still. And I know it's really hard in our society to find any moments where we can just take that breath. In fact, we could take that breath right now. There's a quote that says that inner stillness is the key to outer strength. Inner stillness is the key to outer strength. And I don't think you have to be doing yoga or meditation in order to learn how to still your mind, still your body, just like that, like with a snap of a finger. It's a pause. It's a pause that can refresh us. And I like to say that presence, being present, is the ground of our being. And I'm talking about being today. I'm not talking about doing. The second B is be here now. And I'm not sure how many people in the audience might have heard of Ram Dass, who wrote the book, Be Here Now. But that's partly what this presentation is related to, is that in order to be heard now, in the now, you have to be here now. And if that's true, how do you do that? And that's what we're talking about today. Your audience, this is another quote, your audience doesn't want you to be perfect. You may think they do. They want you to be present. And I'd like to say that being present is right here, right now. The past, I work with a lot of people who have the fear of speaking, and they bring in the past traumas, and they bring in the future that's going to be a disaster for them. So it's always good just to come back to here right now. And in fact, you could just look at something in your immediate surroundings and just for 2 seconds, identify that thing in your surrounding and notice how that brings you back to here, right now. The third, so we've got be still, be here now, and now we have be with. And this quote is, we deepen into relationship with our audience. And as we do this, the relationship becomes a portal to something that is larger, a portal to something that is larger. So being with ourselves and our audience, I like this image because it has an open hand. You might right now, as you're sitting, open your arms and open your hands like this and imagine yourself when you're speaking, even if it's just to one person, that you're holding the moment, you're sharing the moment, you're opening up a channel of communication that, yes, is often very cluttered, but this idea of being with one person, being with a whole audience is very, very powerful. And presence is being with whatever and whoever is in the moment. So I said there were 3 B's and there are 3 C's. And this is how I think it applies to our work as speakers, is that we become charismatic. And Wikipedia, actually, I looked it up. Wikipedia describes charisma as a personal quality of presence. There you go. Personal quality of presence. And as a speaker, you are more charismatic, you're genuine, you're warm, and you attract people. The second C that I think is important here as speakers is being connected, not only connected to this sense that I'm talking about, the being connected with yourself. There's a connection with listeners who are with you. And the third C is be compelling, irresistible, memorable. And isn't that what Maya Angelou said about, leave them with a sense of who you are and they remember you, not your words. So we're talking about you, the messenger, not the message as such. And so we're talking about presence. I call it the inner presence muscle. How do you develop it? How do you strengthen it? And how do you activate it? Christy Hedges wrote a book and it is called The Power of Presence. But her tagline is unlock the potential to influence and engage with others. And this exercise I have right here is, I've given you some already, but I'll be talking about the next couple of slides. I'll be showing you some ideas about how you can develop inner presence and then how to apply it to your speaking. Practice being still. And you'll see from the images here, there's, of course, meditation, there's being out in nature, there's music, and there's exercise, which when you discharge a lot of that extra pent-up energy, you can find a quieter, still place inside. Taking a breath, of course, from research and science says that breathing does activate and soothes the nervous system. So this idea about being still, and these are only just a couple, I'm sure you all have ways in which you can bring your body back to a stillness. Maybe if you have an app on your phone. I know Martin Baronson has something called 1 moment meditation. I mean, we carry it around in our pockets, this ability to take a moment. Sometimes I help my clients by saying, just go to the bathroom stall and sit there and take 10 deep breaths. And I don't teach people particularly how to take and what to take, in how to take, like through the nose, through the mouth, but it is important to breathe. And so how does it apply to speaking? One of my clients described the result of working with me as the ability to find grace under pressure. And this idea about public speaking being, that when we have anxiety, it's supposed to be, excitement. But perhaps a lot of people, even who are good public speakers, have to struggle with this inner kind of stress that shows up. So the ability to calm yourself instantly is, I think, very valuable when it does show up on stage or prior or even afterwards, being able to return to a calm, present state. And a big fear for people that I work with is that they're going to go blank. But if you learn how to be still and you learn that it's all right, you can say, "Ooh, where was I right now?" Or you can be more spontaneous, more in the moment. Magnetic is this image brings to me, a sense of how magnetism, and this could be like what Ash was talking about, different kinds of people who have different kinds of communication styles. But I I like the sense of being magnetic, and you could be dynamic, you could be magnetic, but being able to have the quality of pure presence and being magnetic, I think, is very powerful. So practice being in the now. This is the second B, be now, be in the now. These are images of that can bring that sense of, ooh, the raindrops, what do they feel like? The joy of being in an environment that, most people feel like, ooh, I want to get out of it, but she's purely enjoying the moment being in that rain. And the little girl, her simple kind of innocence, and then hobbies, something like being a fly fisherman or fisherwoman, and being on a stream quietly, just being with the river as it flows. At the beginning of the pandemic, I took an art class, and the first assignment was to do a still life. I think I picked a pear, and I have to tell you that being in the now with a pear, it was like I'd never seen a pear before. I had never taken the time just to notice, to pay attention, to actually observe every little aspect, the shape, the texture, the color of a pear, of all things. So imagine if that kind of same quality of being with or being in this moment, in the now, gives you this sense. And I mentioned magnetic a second ago, and I think this is another example of someone being quite magnetic, and how to apply presence in the moment is taking that breath, being with, and being in the now. One of my clients who's a lawyer, actually was afraid to step into court and present her arguments. And she says now she takes that breath. She feels no longer afraid to really take her space, take the breath, and land in the now, which brings her back to herself, of course, brings her back to her arguments. And it's tempting to rehearse. And even though we're told to practice, be careful not to over rehearse, because people know, the audience knows when it's a canned script and when you're trying to remember a script as opposed to actually being with. And the idea is, are you with the script? Are you with your audience? And I like the idea of being in the now, because it's more like dancing in the moment. If you've heard that phrase, I've been in a lot of situations where something happens in the audience and I have to immediately leave the script, if I have one, and I have to respond to what's happened right there. The lights went out. That was recently one of my first keynotes back after the pandemic. Was the lights went out, and it was very synchronistic that I had just talked about lights going out. So it was a fun moment, a shared moment. And how to, again, I think being present means being with the audience and being here in the now so that you can respond spontaneously and to be much more somebody who's able to be flexible. And I think you're seen that way. One tip I have right here, right now, and it comes from looking at this image, is soften your eyes. In fact, I'm going to do it right now myself, and you might do it as you're listening. Soften the muscles around your eyes. And you might notice that your cheek muscles just relax. And maybe your shoulders dropped. How easy is that to just come back to the moment? The third B is practice being with. That's some of what I've been talking about. The sunset, the animals that we have, the mirror. We could be with ourselves in a mirror. In fact, that's one of the exercises I give my clients. And it's not looking at your lines, your smile lines, your life lines. It's more about looking at into your eyes and into your inner essence. I had an experience with my own mirror and looking at myself deeply into my eyes, and I felt, ooh, my eyes are like jewels. So that would be one exercise I would suggest that people do, that is get a mirror, look at the jewels and see them sparkle, because that's actually your essence sparkling through. And speaking of essence, right now, I'm just going to briefly go off script here and ask you to remember to tap into maybe an essence quality. I know my essence is warm, and I know I have this inner jewel inside of me. So no matter what, that's always with me. It's always with you whenever you're speaking.
Dr. Doreen,
Yes.
I apologize for interrupting, but we're over time, and to keep on schedule, could you wrap it up here real quick?
Yes.
We won't have time for any questions.
Right. So this practice being with can be virtual. And so the power of presence, just wrapping up now, is the 3 B's: be still, be here now, be with. And then so that you can be charismatic, connected, compelling. And I have one more B for you guys: be amazing, be you. And I have a book, and this is a downloadable bookmark if you want to go to Doreen7secrets.com. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Doreen Downing. Yeah, it is time for our next speaker. And our next speaker is Dilyana Mileva, and she's an international speaker and menopause specialist. So it's time to turn it over to Dilyana.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dilyana Mileva. I'm thrilled to be here today to talk about the topic that often it's underspoken or overlooked and sometimes stigmatized. But it's concerns so many women in nowadays. So do you know that actually 1.3 million of women entering each year in menopause, and nobody talk about that. So I am really in a mission to empower the woman going to this transition period of perimenopause and menopause, educate them, give them the resources, and create a movement that the woman really feel supported, understood, and acknowledged. Because it's the stage of life that actually it's a natural stage of life, and many women going through in different way. It's very individual in experience, but almost around 40% of women's life happening after menopause. And the question is actually how you decide to live this part of your life as the best part of your life, actually doing going through reactively or proactively. So as a sleep and menopause specialist, I want to empower women during this transition period and provide them with the practical steps to navigate this phase in their life with grace, humor, and confidence. So the actually 3 practical steps that I want to share with you today is that the first is education part, bring awareness, and actually knowledge is it's a power. The more women inform themselves or find information about what's going actually during this transition period in their body, what changes actually happen, and embrace these changes and live with them with more positive aspect, more different approach, more positive mindset, that can be more easy the transition, so that they really find the wisdom inside them and navigate to this with more ease and grace. So education and information is important, and find the right information and the right support, it's also important. And by knowing exactly what's happening, they're going to be prepared with these changes, emotional, mental, and physical. So let me share a story that might resonate with some of you, which is if there is some woman here, maybe can understand. A few years ago, a friend of mine, and actually she became my client, let's say her name is Susan, started experiencing these hot flashes and night sweats. It's very common symptoms going through this transition period. But she doesn't know it. She was like early 40s, middle 40s. Most of women know that menopause actually is after 50, when the period stops. The end of reproductive years, it's actually end. But the perimenopause was decade before that, and most of the symptoms can happen in an early stage, like even early 30s and early 40s, later 30s and early 40s, due to the stress nowadays that can aggravate some of the symptoms. So she doesn't know, as many other women, that exactly she may be going through perimenopause. And the symptoms took her by surprise. And she kind of felt a little bit frustrated and helpless, don't knowing what exactly going. She tried the different remedies, from herbal supplement, medication, but nothing really seems to help her. And she was struggling to keep up to her demanding job, family, social life, what very often happen. It's very related, again, hormonal changes with the stress level that affect these symptoms and actually can trigger all the symptoms. And one day Susan was in a meeting at work, and she suddenly felt a hot flash coming on. And she was desperately trying to keep her cool in front of the colleagues and the attendees, but she was sweating profusely and feeling really embarrassed, extremely shame. In a moment of spontaneously, she worked it out, and she just say, "I'm having my own personal summer right now." And her colleague burst in laugh, and that can diffuse the situation. And it was a funny moment, but that helped Susan to really get out of the situation and really make it easy for her. So what I want to say that sometimes if you take the humor side of what's happening of these changes with these symptoms, it just really implement the humor in the situation that can help to this embarrassing situation in this, just make us feel a little bit more lighter and more not so much embarrassed, because it's happened very, very often that you can experience in some of this situation in our life. But how you approach the situation is really important in our mindset. So if you approach it with more humor, laughing at ourselves, what's going on, and that can help a little bit going through these challenges in more ease and grace. So education is really important, knowing what's going on and how to deal with that. It's going to help women to prepare and going through it. It's more ease. So the second step, the practical steps that I can suggest to going through empowering the woman going through this transition period is that they need to start to prioritize the self-care and self-love, nurturing themselves a little bit more in this period of time. So this self-care can be very different for different people. That can be just going to massage, talking with friend, going for a walk in the nature, or practice mindfulness, meditation, breathing, and yoga, just to relax and make you more manageable the stress and manage also the hormone. This self-care can be very, very different, but it's a really, really important piece going to this transition period of life. I myself went through extremely fatigue, some exhaustion, lack of sleep, also depression, anxiety, frustration. I was kind of in shame and guilt that I didn't perform in the way I used to perform, and not also in my relationship. Sometimes I was a little bit more irritable and not so patient. And actually discovering the breath and how the breath, deep breathing works, saved my life. It helped me to see some limiting beliefs. It helped me to connect with the source, with my higher self, and really feel more, implement more peace in my life and more grounding, so that I start to see some changes in my mood swings, in my behavior, also pattern, also help me to manage the energy level and also how I sleep. So I start to adjust my practice. Also, I coming from yoga teaching background, and I already have this knowledge of health and wellness, but I didn't understood why with all this knowledge I'm all the time tired and cannot sleep well. And also the other aspect was that when I went to see the doctor, they don't really told that I'm in the age of menopause. They suggest the sleeping pills or antidepressant. And I knew in my heart, in my bone, that it's not the real cause. And when I start doing the research, that research confirmed that probably I'm going through perimenopause. In menopause, that's just need to start to have a little bit more rest, to listen to my body, to nurture myself, and take this pause, this silent moment to reset. And with the breath work, that's really helped me to diminish the hot flashes, night sweats. I really have this more ease in this trigger moment when somebody just tells something and I react overreact in the way that it's not really appropriate. But taking the pause in the moment, just step back and take a breath, help to navigate with these triggers and these challenges. And also, I can share another story with my clients, that Jane, who is going through perimenopause and experiencing severe mood swings and irritability, she was also finding challenging to manage the emotions. It was affecting her relationship, her family and friends, and she decided to educate herself about perimenopause and learn more about mood swings and common symptoms due to the hormonal changes. And when she have this knowledge that I help to consist, because you can find a lot of information out now there in the internet and everywhere. But what I'm doing, I gather all this information and make it more consist. And according to the case, I really just give synthesize information that they can start using right away and save them time and in front of the doctor's office. So when I give this knowledge what's going on with her and what's triggered these symptoms and how she can deal with these symptoms in natural way, I don't deny that in some cases it's important to have hormone replacement therapy, but it's not the only one solution. And it's not really the first thing that you can think about. If you start to prepare, change your lifestyle, adjust your lifestyle, your healthy habits, your healthy eating, because it's food also, it's important, how you eat, what you eat, if you include more estrogen-rich food, if you include more whole foods, more nuts, more seeds, that can help with the symptoms too. So when I give Jane this information, then she start to implement these steps that I suggest, that she really start to see the difference and in what's going on with her symptoms. So take care of yourself in this period of time. It's really important. And the third practical steps that I want to share today is that the community is important. So find someone to speak with. It can be coach, can be health provider, holistic practitioner, community, can be little bit family, friend, loved one, whatever you feel confident to talk about what's going on. And specifically, it's important to talk about what's going on with you, how you feel in your family, in your significant one, in your spouse, to understand better what you're going through, and that you can be more supported and create more space for you. But the challenge is, okay, family probably not, if you talk about, you can be understood. The challenge is in the work environment, in the workplace, that it's because it's not spoken, because it's not understood what woman experience going to this transition period in emotional level, in mental level, in the physical level. I'm really would like to have more information in the workplace to bring this awareness, what's going on, because most of the CEO, it's still men. And it's good to understand how the pressure and stress work during this transition period in woman's life. And so that they create a little bit more breaks, a little bit more cool environment, and little bit, I think the breaks can help a lot, and just to deal with the stress. But if until that happens, I just inspire women to take care of themselves and have these small breaks for themselves in the morning, during the day, in the evening. Just learn how to use these stress management techniques and relaxation to help themselves really reset and relax and listen to the body, what body need, because in this time you really need more rest and more relaxation activity, so that you feel more at ease. So it's crucial for our society to understand what's going on in woman's life, and give the resources and support and for the woman, so that they are empowered and really supported going through the transition period of perimenopause and menopause. So I thank you for listening to me, and I just gonna wrap up. And if you want to ask me questions, I'm happy to answer. so that I give a little bit more space for questions. That's all I want to share with you today. Just the 3 practical steps that can empower women. It was education, self-care, and community, and just talking about the problems with the people that you love, that love you, or just if you want to be with the space in the professionals, you can find somebody to that understand the process and help you with going through this transition period of your life.
Ilyana, do you do coaching for women?
I do coaching for women, and I do one-on-one, and I also do, I have a program, group program, but yeah, I coach for women, and I also help men to understand women.
Oh, okay. So do you have a website or like other resources that you could share with us? Put it in the chat.
Yeah, I have a podcast, by the way. I have a podcast called Menopause Made Easy. I invite different expert, holistic practitioner, life coaches, health coaches, physiotherapist, nutritionist, naturopath, all kind of specialists to share their knowledge and expertise. So listening the podcast is also very, very good resource. I will put my link tree, and there is my podcast and my website. The podcast can be listened in a major platform, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, but you can also find some of the episodes in my website again, which is menopausesupportacademy.com. I will put the link on the chat so that you can find the website and find the podcast where you can listen and share.
All right. Can you say that link one more time?
I will put in the chat, but the website it's called menopausesupportacademy.com.
Okay, great. All right. We're needing to move on to the next speaker. So
Okay, thank you.
very much. So our next speaker will be Nadia Tatch, and she is a health and life coach and personal fitness trainer. So I'm turning the stage over to Nadia. Take it away.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, the summit. Thank you, listeners, for being here. Can you hear me okay? Okay, excellent. All you need is within you. 2009. It was Sunday, 9:40 a.m. She could feel the sunshine on her face going through the shutters of the window. This warm blanket. She stretches her arms and rolls her body, moving her face towards the sunshine just a little more. Sunday morning. She's been in this country for 10 years. She has her young family. She has been working on her life's mission to open up a language school. And today is the day. Today is the grand opening, the first day. They're going to welcome 50 children and their parents and finally fulfill that mission. She spreads her arms, she picks up the phone, and she calls her friend. Alia, can you teach the class for me? I'm sick, I can't come. After a short interaction, she moves the phone down She crawls back under the blankets and starts crying. After a while, she stays back up. She moves the tears out of her face and she announces herself. Enough is enough. If I want to fulfill my mission in life, whatever it is, if I want to have a better life, I got to take care of myself first. Got to put myself first. This was me in 2009. Today, I'm going to teach you 3 points how to be consistent with healthy habits. The points I have journeyed through and found the most useful in the tools that I teach. The number 1, the most important habit. Number 2, your first mountain of healthy habits. And number 3, your second mountain of life. Are you ready? Before we do that, do you have any glasses nearby? Let's go ahead and put those curiosity goggles on. I had to pull out the glasses actually, so I can see all. The number 1 of the first important habit in anything, in fact, we do, including the self-care. Aha, I see that. I love this. One day when I speak, I'm going to provide the glasses for everyone who is listening, and I'll say, yeah, put your hand under the chair. There's a gift for you, and they're going to pull out the gift, and it's the curiosity goggles. They have to be fun. Okay, so back to curiosity. It is the most important, the most foundational habit we have to master to move forward. Why? Imagine in curiosity, there is no judgment. It's like asking a question and be curious and just intentionally bring in awareness. What's happening? I usually say, isn't it interesting that I chose pomegranate tea to drink? Isn't it interesting that I chose pancake for breakfast? Isn't it interesting that I chose to sit on the chair and it's 9 p.m. and I know I need to go to bed? Just being curious. Okay, keep your curiosity goggles on. Let's climb to that first mountain of healthy habits. I'm going to switch the direction a little bit. By the way, I've never climbed the mountain. When I was preparing, I thought, how can I explain climbing the mountain? Oh, yeah, I do have an experience. Climbing the rock wall at the gym. By the way, I'm afraid of heights. So, before you climb, you got to prepare. Knowing where you are, I did say, I've never done it before. I don't know what to do. Stating what's so and where you are and being still curious is really, really important. And then you got to get ready. You got to have a plan. And by the way, putting all that gear on yourself in order to start climbing step by step. And never climb the mountain by yourself. I thought, that's kind of about any sport. Why don't we do it with health? Let's not do it by ourselves. In fact, when I climb, I have someone who is right there on top of the mountain saying, yeah, you're in the right direction. Come on. And there is a rope helping out. And there's someone on the bottom like, come on, go. Push my butt up. In fitness, I'm like, we just say whatever it is. Push your butt up. And there are people cheering us on. So when you climb the first mountain of habits, know where you are. By the way, know where you're climbing. Prepare step by step and never do it yourself. And also, when I think about climbing, I remember climbing that wall was really important to do step by step, as I mentioned. And I decide, okay, maybe it's my fingers, maybe I put my foot. Every time I do it, I celebrate. You probably heard celebrate wins, no matter how small or big they are. By doing that, we build the emotional tenacity of being positive and moving forward and inspiring, in fact, ourselves and people who are cheering us on. And while doing that, by the way, what else am I building? Physical strength too, and emotional and mental strength. Okay, so we climbed on top of that mountain, the self-care mountain, one step at a time, from knowing where we are, knowing where we're going, each step at a time with someone together. Yeah, emotional tenacity, I see the chat. So guess I can't leave the screen, so I still have to be on the screen. Guess what you see when you're on top of that mountain? Yeah, you see your second mountain, or maybe several mountains. In fact, I have another experience. I am afraid of heights, but sometimes we do things we're afraid of. So I decided I'm going to jump off the plane. I still don't know why I decided that. For my birthday, I thought it was a fun gift. But I guess I was smart enough to say, I'm going to do tandem. You know, that's when someone else is on your back. I knew that the process of, speaking of, get your gear one step at a time, I'm like, you can tell me anything and I'm not going to hear it. I'm too overwhelmed. I'm just too, do it with me and maybe even for me. That's why it's good to have a guide. So we get on the plane, we go up. I can't remember anything. I remember he was opening his mouth, giving me instructions. I was too scared. And I think he said, step off the plane. I know he was on my back, so I know I'm taken care of. I don't remember stepping off the plane. I think he pushed me. I don't know. I think he said, open up your arms. I don't remember. But what I remember on top of that air, all of a sudden, oh, is there music? This is wonderful. All of a sudden, there was peace. All of a sudden, it was so quiet. All of a sudden, I found that power right on top of that air. What a magical experience, from all that fear, from all that overwhelm, but having a guide and finding that power right on the top. Folks, our second mountain of life is when you know that I've mastered my first mountain, the self-care. And now my cup, you probably heard an expression, my cup is so filled that I can gift it to the world. The second mountain of life is your passion, is your mission to make a difference in the world. So often we actually collapse and do vice versa and feel depleted. Let's start with ourselves. Never take the curiosity goggles off. Master your self-care and be that big mission in the world. To remember this lady who is actually me back in 2009, sitting in the bed, saying enough is enough. Today she's, I want to say standing, but I'm actually sitting in front of you. I want to say holding the mic, but not really. My head is holding the mic. spreading the mission of the wellness in the world, because I truly believe the planet doesn't need to be saved. We need to save ourselves. The planet is going to be just fine without us. So please keep your curiosity goggles on. Master your first mountain of habits, which is self-care, so you can be fully present of your second mountain of life, your mission, your intention for this world. And please remember, love yourself through your daily choices. Love your world through your daily choices. All you need is within you, and you got the power. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Nadia?
I'm going to put those back on. If you have questions, I can be curious.
It's not really a question, but I love that invitation to feel the music when you're actually at that height. That's inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what you talked about, I think, around fear is important to move toward it, face it, and then the breakthrough.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I remember asking for help is not, I think, even in this culture forte, we are so independent, do it yourself. But honestly, it took me a very long time asking for help in my business, hiring a business coach. And then my business coach was on me, find a help to support, to grow your business. And I was refusing. But in fact, once I say yes and really open my arms and invite the guide, invite support, help, whoever it is, whether it's a health coach for me or professional to help grow my business, we find that it becomes simpler. You actually can allow to be who you are in what you do versus I'm everything and everywhere and spreading myself too much and feeling overwhelmed. Yeah. Thank you for the
Definitely.
comment, Doctor.
Yeah, definitely. I have a personal experience. My podcast is something I pretty much produce. Just found somebody who does it all, and I have space. I had space to do my presentation and find slides. Used to just work on my podcast. Fresh space.
Well, if I can maybe answer the question I usually get very often, because
Yeah.
I didn't. Will it be okay, Brian? Do we have still some time?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Then normally after the talk like this, I get a look and like, so what is it that you do? If you actually look at the daily work, what we do, I do teach functional movement. Again, when I go to the foundation, I believe in movement and fitness, teaching ourselves how to functionally move throughout the day is important. So in our workouts, we everything is still virtual. In fact, we do functional movement, compound movement, where we include more muscle groups than just one, and corrective exercise, and I teach daily. And in the mindset and nutrition, again, we're focusing on functionality. And in the mindset, I love the expression building mental fitness. We meet, if it's a group, we meet once a week for an hour in our accountability support group.
All right. So if no one has anything else for Nadia, we'll move on. Is that okay?
Nobody knows where I'm from. I didn't say that. You can all hear my accent. Not. I'm from St. Petersburg, Russia.
Yeah, I knew at one time, but I forgot.
St. Petersburg, Russia. I'm in Dallas right now.
Well, you're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, so we will I'm going to introduce our last speaker, and it is Cassandra Arsenal. And Cassandra is an entrepreneur and founder and CEO of digital marketing company Connect. So take it away, Cassandra.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks for sticking around. It's been great listening to everyone and hearing all of your zones of genius. So thank you for hanging out with us, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to share my screen here. If I'm looking this way, it's just the double screen. So you can see all your faces over here and all my content over there. Okay, so let's get into this. Social media has kind of taken over the world, especially within the last couple of years. We have seen such a transition over the last few years with social media kind of blowing up and everybody on their phones, everybody's looking down. Social media for your business can be super beneficial. A lot of times we feel frustrated, we feel overwhelmed by it, but there's also a lot of benefit that you can have from social media. So that's what I'm going to chat with you guys about today. So, hey, I'm Cassandra. I am the owner of Connect, which is a social media management company. I started it just before the pandemic started, and obviously that was a great time to start a business. Who would have known? I studied psychology, marketing, and digital marketing in university and college, and so I had a lot of educational background going into this space, and I learned so much from mentors and other people in the industry, and yeah, here we are. My favorite platforms are LinkedIn and Instagram. I feel like there are so many great connections I've built over the years in those platforms, and just the features that they offer and the different contrast between the two platforms has been really interesting to see. You can find me on my website, social media, all of those things. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a brand. Whether you work in a business or you own your own business, brand is more than just colors and logos. A lot of people get caught up in, oh, what color do they have? And McDonald's has the big arch. Yeah, they've built a brand, but it's about the character. It's about the voice and the mission and the reason why you're doing what you're doing. The everyday drive behind your business. It's not all about, oh, what color are we going to have if you don't have any reason for what you're doing. So I definitely recommend taking a look at why you're doing what you're doing, focusing in on your tone of voice. When you get to know me here right now, I talk this way. I talk like this on social media. I talk like this with my friends. This is how I speak. And so my tone of voice doesn't really change across my business. And that is an important part. If you're completely talking in a different way than your business is, that might, create some lag and some frustration within your customers. They're reading one thing, then they see you and it's a whole different ball game. Kind of throws things off. Take a look at your products or services. That is a part of your brand. What are you here to offer your customers? Your customer service experience. This is huge. Amazon is a multi-million-dollar, crazy huge company. Anytime I have ever had an issue with anything I've ordered from them, I send in a request to call me. They call me within a couple minutes. Boom, bang, done, handled. Obviously, we don't have a team of thousands of workers behind us as business owners, but definitely prioritize your customer experience. Answer them on your Instagram profile. Send the email. Reply as soon as you can so that people feel like they're being heard inside your business. Evoke emotion, share your emotions in business, have your customers come to you with their emotions. Evoking emotion in your messaging can really set you apart from the rest of the competitors. This is one thing in marketing that has kind of shifted over the last few years. When, we started marketing, a lot of it was product-based, feature-based marketing. This water bottle is pink. It can hold 1 liter of water. It's cooled inside. Great. But what is it doing for me? I don't care that it's cold inside or not necessarily. What is it providing me? It's providing me a sealable lid so I don't spill this all over my laptop and lose all the work that I did in the last 2 hours. So it's evoking that emotion behind people, right? Why is this happening? Why are you in the industry? Sharing your position in the market. So like we said, we all have the competitors out there. We are not the only person to invent the wheel. And so learning your competitors' strategies, building a business, creating clients that, flock to you because of who you are. And that's what's going to set you apart in the market. Company culture. If you're working in a business, company culture is huge. Share why people should work with you. Share your everyday within the business so people feel connected to you. That's all a part of brand. It's not just about the colors. Customers. So social media, we suddenly have thousands of people that we could reach. We have hundreds of thousands of people we could talk to a day. That would be wild if we could talk to that many people. But it's important to really understand who your customer is. Who is that target audience? Who are you trying to reach? You could have 10 million followers on Instagram. That doesn't mean that you have $10 million in your bank account. You have to really understand your audience and where they're coming from, what their values are, what their lifestyle is like. A great exercise I always recommend to start off with is something called a buyer persona. You literally grab a picture of somebody, toss them in there. Let's call them Sarah. Let's write out everything about Sarah, her values, what she spends time doing, her income, what her job is. Is she married? Does she have children? Where does she live? All of these things are very important. And the more you understand your customer, the better you're going to be able to talk to them. So initially, you might be a little confused. You might not know who your customer is, but as you build this business out, as you build your audience, you're really going to see the people that you jive with. You're going to be like, yeah, these are my people. How do I get more of these people in my door? How do I get my product out to more of these people? Great. Let's learn about our buyer persona. Let's learn about our customers. I always say that this can change. It's not something you have to, you opened your business yesterday, you've done your buyer persona, and for the rest of your life, has to be the person you sell to. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. Your product suite is going to evolve. Your services are going to evolve. And so should your customer line. But it's important to just know who you're talking to. You're talking to everybody. You're talking to nobody. So really think about it. We talked about menopause. That is something definitely affected in women, right? Men don't go through that physically. They do go through it with their partners, but it's very women focused. So let's really hone in and talk to those people. We know what age is, right? That's such a great example to know. Okay, it's between 40 and, I don't know, I'm young, but 40 to, 55 years old. Boom. Now we have this 15 range gap of females. Let's hone in on that. Right? Our goals. It's important to understand your goals when you're talking about marketing because you want to have a direction to go into, whether it's business or marketing, those kind of work side by side. So business goals, you could be in the space where you're growing and scaling. You might be starting to hire people. You might be offering bigger ticket services or products. You might want a new process. Maybe your email system and onboarding process sucks and you're done with it and it just causes you headaches. That's something, this year we're going to get that figured out. We are really going to move towards this new space. Maybe you're creating new products or services. Maybe you're opening a physical location. You want to gain new clients. You want new people in your door. All those goals do have a marketing aspect to them. So some social media goals could be customer service. You really want to hone in on your customer service experience. You notice you're getting a lot of messages on Facebook recently, and you might be missing them or comments are going through. You really want to hone in on your customer service this year. Increase brand awareness. You want your business to be out there more. Maybe you start on a new social media platform, or maybe you really buckle down and start posting content consistently. You want to drive traffic to your website because your website hosts all your programs and products and you want people, hey, they're in our door. Let's throw them to the website so that they can purchase. How do we do that? Generating new leads. So like we said, we want to gain new clients. We need new leads. It's very rare that people just see something and purchase it right away. A lot of times they do a little research. They're looking at reviews. They're checking out your business. They're like, okay, who is this coach? I want to learn a little bit about her. What kind of experience does she have? How does she speak? All of that is a part of that. Building community. At the end of the day, social media is all about being social. And sometimes we forget that. We're so honed in on how do we make sales and how do we get new people. We forget about the community that we already have in front of us. Instead of trying to get 1,000 new followers this month, how about you re-engage the 500 followers you already have? Go message them, talk to them, engage them in your content. So they work together. You can grow and scale your business. That means you're going to need new people in your social media world. You're going to want more followers. Maybe you want to build a community. So I'm going to go over to Facebook and open up a Facebook group so that I can build this community and talk to people more frequently. Maybe you're creating a new product or service. So now you want to have a launch strategy that you're going into social media with. You're not just saying, oh yeah, I launched this new service yesterday and nobody knows what you're talking about. Let's create a launch strategy behind that. You're opening a new physical location. Great. We got to share that online. How do we update our profiles? How do we generate new leads within this location? So the goals are all a part of the strategy, and it's very important to start there. Understand, what are the goals? Where are we going with this business? Where are we going with our online presence? So platforms, you've probably Googled it. I Google it all the time because I like to keep up to date with what people are saying. But I'm here to tell you, you do not need to be everywhere, and you can't be everywhere. I do this for a living, and I am not everywhere. It's impossible to keep up with all of the social media platforms that are coming out, all of the trends, all of the things that are happening, right? So here's a little breakdown of what each platform kind of focuses in on. And obviously you guys will have a recording of this so you can go deeper into this. Facebook, definitely honing in on groups. That is a place to create community, and that is unmatched on any other platform. Facebook is about the Facebook groups right now. Instagram, we saw short form content take off because of TikTok. TikTok came around and was like, hey, what's up, everyone? Let's create some fun videos. Let's be entertaining. Let's educate people. And we're all sitting there, okay, how do we boil pasta? Great. However, Instagram was like, we have to compete with this. We have to catch up. And they threw Instagram Reels at us. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, they hate photos. What are we going to do? Nobody knows what to do. Instagram has announced not too long ago that they missed the ball on that. They were like, oh gosh, we put too much emphasis on videos. People freaked out. We all did. I'm sure we're all nodding our head. Yeah, okay. We're going back to the photos. So if you're scared and you're like, oh, I can't be on Instagram anymore, they're bringing the photos back. They're balancing the algorithm so that both are being showed pretty equally right now. So get on there. That is a great place for a worldwide audience to be easily discovered. Facebook is often your local audience. Instagram is really a huge audience that you can reach, especially if you have an online business where you don't need to be sitting next to someone. Instagram. LinkedIn, business to business relationships. It's a very professional style atmosphere. This is where you have job postings. This is where you can talk to. This is a great place for me as a social media manager and as a social media coach to go to other businesses and say, hey, do you need help with your online marketing? This is a great space for stuff like that. Pinterest is a little different than all the other social media platforms. Pinterest and YouTube are actually closer to Google than they are to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that kind of stuff. The reason why is because they are search engines. So you can now, and Instagram and TikTok, they're getting into that. You can type in Pinterest, best recipes for losing weight. Boom. 8 gazillion recipes come up, right? You can look at blogs, websites, videos, whatever it is. That is a great place for backlinks, which is like a website term where you can click on the photo and it brings you to a website. So that is what Pinterest is more focused on. They are focused on not necessarily keeping people on the platform, but rather promoting you on different spaces. So the biggest question I get asked, how often do I post on social media? Again, probably a high Google question. How often should I be on there? When do I post? What are the good times? These are all questions that, we all, what do we do? How do we do this? Consistency is key. And that is going to look like different for every single one of us in this room. Consistency is the key. At the end of the day, you have to remember, if you're not able to keep up with it, it's going to fall behind, and so is everything else. It's like that weight loss journey. You're like, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. You start going to the gym every day for a month, and then you've never gone again because that consistency is not realistic for you. You have to think about what's consistent for you. For me, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. That is it. That is the time I post on social media. I pop into my stories, probably every day. I say, hey, how's everyone doing? Or I share a post in my stories, but I don't post 400 times a day, 6 times a week. Like, I don't have that schedule because I'm not consistent in myself. So it doesn't actually matter the amount of times you post necessarily. It matters more around the consistency. So figure out a schedule that works for you and follow that. Show up for your audience. Even if you're not posting that day, show up in the morning or afternoon or whenever you have some time and show up for your audience. Start engaging with them. Check your messages, make sure everything is kosher. Just check in. It's like checking in on your email. Don't forget that email list. This is something that a lot of us miss. I did way back in the beginning. My email list, I was like, yeah, I don't need one. Yeah, and what happens when TikTok shuts down tomorrow? Or what happens when Instagram blocks your account for a month? Now what? How are we going to promote our business, right? And that is something that is super important. Social media can disappear any day. Those followers, you don't have any connection outside of that world. You've lost all of that. So say you have 10,000 followers and you don't have a single contact outside of that. Facebook shuts down, boom, there goes your 10,000 people you used to know. So make sure you're trying to get those emails, whether it's doing a webinar like this, whether it is having a freebie where you say, 5 tips on improving diet during menopause. Boom. You can have something like that. Whatever it is, you have to decide what's right for your business and what you're willing to, give away for free. But freebies are such a great way to get people to sign up for your email list. Collect them. You don't ever have to send out emails if you don't want to, but at least you have that contact. So in case something happened, or you decided one day that now you're going to start building that email list even more and using it, you absolutely have it. Elevator pitches are important to a degree. This is a great statement you can put in your Facebook bio, in your Instagram bio, something that you can tell people as you're going about your life. Basically just a sentence or a little paragraph. On Instagram, I think they only let you have like 300 characters, so it's kind of annoying, but this is something that you can add in there to get really clear on who you service and what you do. I am blank. What is your title? Who are you? I help blank. Who do you help? Who is that target audience? Do blank so they can blank. So I am Cassandra, a digital marketing coach and social media manager. I help businesses or business owners or small business owners or female entrepreneurs or 6-figure earners, whatever you want to put in there, do blank. What do? I help them learn how to use social media effectively so they can manage their channels and so they can feel confident on social media and have time back in their business, in their life, in their world. This one's kind of hard to write sometimes. It takes you a minute to really hone in. You're like, okay, who am I helping? Well, everyone. Okay, well, that's not a word. Who are we helping? What are we doing? So I challenge you to write this. It might take you a couple minutes to really think about, okay, what are these people? But that is such a great mind flex to make sure that you're talking to the right people. Strategy. So often people hear you have to have a marketing strategy, you have to have a plan. This doesn't have to be a 75-page document. It doesn't even have to be written out. It can be on a sticky note that you leave on the top of your laptop. But it's just a direction that your social media is going. So go back to the beginning of the slideshow and figure out, who is my target audience? Who am I talking to? What are my goals with being online and in my business? What are those looking like? What platforms am I going to show up on consistently? How often am I posting on those platforms? What type of content do I want to post on these platforms? This is all the stuff that you can add into this little strategy so that you have a direction. That can always change and you can customize it and adjust it, but it gives you some plan on where you're moving your business so that, a year from now, you can look back and say, oh, my goal was to gain 200 followers on Instagram or start up a YouTube channel or make 500 connections on LinkedIn or hire my first person, and you can see the progress happening online. Take the pressure off and plan ahead. Social media doesn't have to be something you do at 2 a.m. and you're stressed out because you were supposed to post it today and it never happened. And now you got to do it because you left it to the last minute. You don't have to do that. Plan ahead. Write on a sticky note, okay, this week I want to post these 3 things. I want to post about my new program that I just launched. I want to share a quote about whatever it is. And I want to share an introduction post. Great. That's 3 posts. Let's do it. Let's do it now, right when you're sitting there. Let's get it done so that you don't have to worry about it at midnight when you're after you put the kids to bed, you clean the house, you're exhausted, you just want to go to bed, but now we have to post on social. Nobody wants to do it, and then it doesn't get done. So try and plan ahead as often as you can. And if you can plan a month ahead, a quarter ahead, a year ahead, some people do their social media a year ahead. I've never been that person, but some people do it. So, okay. Do you guys have any questions? Anything you want to talk about? Stop sharing my screen here. I know that was a lot. So, yeah, Nadia, go ahead.
So, Cassandra, I actually saw in the chat you're also from Russia. What do you, how do you say when they talk about build your email list, and I actually say nurture your email list? How would you address that?
Absolutely. So building and nurturing are 2 things. You can't nurture anybody unless you have them, right? And so I think a lot of people get confused between the 2. And so once you have them in your email list, once you have them, even in your world on social media, it doesn't have to be an email list. Don't forget about them. Don't just throw them to the side and be like, okay, well, whatever, I'll talk to them in 7 years when I need something from them. Talk to them before that happens, right? Oh, I just launched a new program and now I need 10 people in it. Let me message these people I've never talked to once in my life. No, back up. Talk to them now. Start building that relationship up now. And that is probably the biggest piece of gold you'll ever get, because they're going to tell you what they're going to say. Hey, you know what? I'm really struggling with this in my life. And you're going to start noticing, oh, so is that person. And so is that person. Oh, maybe I should build something off of that. Maybe I should send out an email to my mass email list that addresses that conversation. Or maybe I build a course off of that talks about what these pain points are. So definitely listen to your audience and see what they're saying, because they are going to tell you what you should be building in your business, probably way faster than any of us are going to get there. So yeah, I definitely think that having the email list is great. Now, once you're ready to and able to be consistent with it, I would then start sending out those emails, learn about what people need to read about, and get it out there to them. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And in fact, the most response I ever get from my email list, if I send 1 sentence with a question at the end, it is amazing the rate response. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. I see that too on the back end of businesses, right? They send out this beautiful email selling their new program and not much traction, maybe a little bit here and there, but then they send out and they pour out their hearts. They're like, you know what, when I created this was a mess, or I don't know how to do this, or are you struggling with this? And those emails we get responses back all the time. They're like, oh my God, this is so helpful. Thank you for saying that. Or, oh, thank you for validating that for me, right? So really building that human connection is what's going to sell in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And I think it actually relates to social media posting as well. When we post kind of cold professional posts, they're nice and cute and professional. But when you post on behalf of you as a person and relate to your audience who is seeing those messages, they resonate much more. I'm as an audience, I can see that too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone loves those beautiful photos of you, right? People say that all the time. They're like, I got no traction on this post that I spent like 3 hours on, but I post a picture of myself and everyone's freaking out.
With amazing hair.
Right. We want to see you.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
When I get hundreds of comments on a video that I've posted either on Instagram or TikTok, and people are asking for feedback, but it's almost impossible to provide feedback to all of those people, but I want them to be aware that I've answered the question they asked in the comments. Do you have any suggestions for alerting people in my comments I've provided an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great question. I knew where you were going before you were finishing it, because that does happen, right? We grow our platforms and we're like, great, okay, but now we're like, oh my God, well, how do we do this? And so making sure people feel seen, making sure people feel heard is an important part of this. And so there's a few different ways to do this. You can respond right in the comments. You can reply, boom, they're tagged in it. So if they miss it, that's on them kind of thing. They're not seeing their notifications. You can reply with a video, which will show up in the comments as well. Another great one I like to do is on Instagram, it actually allows you now to reply with a message, and I send them a voice message because I'm busy doing things. I'm running around the house. I don't have time to sit here and type 800 words a day, right? We can't do it. So I say, hey, thank you so much for your question. It's been, this is a brief answer. Again, you don't want to give them everything because then, you're like, well, why are they going to buy my programs? But what you're doing is you're building that trust factor, right? So you don't want to give them your 12-part step program, but you also want to give them enough information that they're building that like, know, and trust factor. So they're like, hey, you know what? I actually do know somebody who has this. I know somebody who can help me. So you can do that too over time. A lot of people think you have to answer like right away, right? It's 2 a.m. and you're like, okay, I just got to answer this last comment. No, you don't have to do that. It could be weeks down the road. And what that does is actually pushes it back into the algorithm. So funny story is I was making tacos one night with my boyfriend, posted on TikTok as a funny video. It got 1 million views. And I was like, it's a taco. Who cares? Like, what's going on? But people were commenting about what they like in their taco. They're like, I like a hard shell. I'm like, that's great. I still reply to that video. I made it 3 months ago. I'm like, wow, great. Okay. Like, and it's still going. Like I just hit 1.1 million yesterday. And I'm like, hey, it's still growing. Right. So you don't have to answer right in that moment. You can spread it over time. That feeling of like overwhelm a little bit, you can also take all those comments. If you notice the same thing is kind of coming up where there's something in there that's kind of in the same genre. It's like, oh, this all kind of falls in the same category. I would do like an Instagram live and boom, 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 boom. Then send them, comment back to them and say, hey, I just did an Instagram live about X, Y, and Z. Definitely check it out. It gives you more content and it drives them back to your channel. So something to think about. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you. I found out the hard way that I could not copy and paste, particularly on TikTok.
Yeah, they do not like that very much. Yeah, it's a good way to get banned. Yeah, don't do that. But like we said, it doesn't have to be daily. I think they have like a max limit. Like if you Google it, it'll be like 100 copy and paste replies, and then it cuts you off. And it's like, don't do that anymore. We're going to ban you. So yeah. Beautiful. Anybody else?
Well, thank you, Cassandra. And it's we are over time, so we'll wrap up now.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, we want to thank everyone for attending and thank all of our speakers. I don't know if I'm on camera now.
Yes, you are.
I am. Okay. Anyway,
thanks a lot for the nice talk.
All right. Well, yes. Thanks to all of our speakers, Jackie, Ash, Doreen, Dilyana, Nadia, and Cassandra. It's been great. I've learned a lot and hope all of you have as well. Our next summit will be Thursday, May 11th. So until then, we'll see you later and watch for emails and of the upcoming summit in May. Thank you. Bye-bye.